Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning. It's a pleasure to be here, and I'm delighted to have the opportunity to speak, for a change for me, of tourism as a tool of sustainable economic growth, and in fact, of how a sustainable economic growth is to the benefit of tourism. Ladies and gentlemen, when I was your age, if somebody came over to me and told me that we need to open up to the Chinese market, we would look at him and ask ourselves if he still lives in this world. Today, the Chinese market is one of the biggest touristic markets. Chinese are getting richer, Chinese are traveling, and a completely new market is open for the whole world. What is the message? The world is changing, and it's changing radically. Tourism is inextricably important for progress, growth, and poverty reduction. However, the link between tourism and sustainable growth is not automatic. Many countries have spoiled the natural resources through tourism. Dear friends, after making a few general observations, I will focus in more detail to the case of Greece, which is in many ways that of a typical and yet also atypical tourist country. Over the last few decades, tourism has become one of the largest and fastest growing industries. According to the United Nations, this industry generates 5% of global gross domestic product and 7% of the overall number of jobs worldwide. Tourism is a basic means for receiving what we call invisible earnings in a modern economy. The economy of modern societies can be subdivided in three distinct categories vis-à-vis tourism. Countries where tourism still plays an insignificant role in their economy. There is indeed a wide spectrum of countries which, for a variety of reasons, have not managed to become major tourist destinations. They are either remote, unsafe, or not interesting enough as tourist destinations. A look at the list of global tourist destinations will immediately reveal that a booming tourist industry exists in just a few dozens of countries. Europe, North and South, Turkey, a few Arab countries, a few more in the Far East, North America, Mexico, South American and African countries, and of course China, who is opening up. And one should add Australia and New Zealand, but tourism there is not a capital income generator. A second category is that of the fully successful tourist destinations. The catalogue here comprises countries, regions, and just cities, which have managed to become all year round tourist destinations and which have successfully linked tourism with other forms of economic activity. In so doing, they have enhanced the economic benefits they derive from being first-class tourist destinations. This second list is not particularly long. It comprises just a few, mostly European countries, and a few well-known cities which have succeeded to attract low as well as high-income visitors, whose numbers are evenly spread throughout the year. Countries like Italy, the foremost example, France, Britain, etc., and specific cities like London, Paris, Prague, Berlin, New York, Venice, cities that actually attract the largest numbers of visitors compared to the total number of those visiting these respective countries where these cities are located. Last but not least, the third category, sun and sea, recreation. In countries which more often than not offer interesting opportunities for sightseeing, antiquities, etc. as well. Ladies and gentlemen, from the rather summarily description above, it's easy to see that the various countries in the world, depending on which of the three categories they belong, need to elaborate different strategies either in order to maintain or in order to advance the tourist industries. Countries which are today obscure in the tourism business can, if they so wish, elaborate ways of increasing their appeal for visitors and thus, in their turn, become tourist destinations as others have done before them. Fully fledged tourist destinations must try to maintain their dominant position in the future also. And middle-of-the-way countries in which tourism is highly seasonal need to elaborate strategies to expand the tourist season and to attract other, not mostly recreational tourists. Dear friend, this tripartite categorization is of tremendous economic interest, for it is obvious that not becoming a tourist destination at all, being a fully fledged one, and being just a sun and sea destination offer respective societies comparatively low, full, or comparatively high economic advantages. One main economic factor, therefore, is the success or not of a country or city to be a full, partial, or low-interest destination. If you are a full, all-year-round destination, there is more to it for the economy and the quality of life than just tourists pouring in the entire year. In fully fledged tourist destinations, the working force is generally more skilled and effective, as tourism for them is a permanent and not a seasonal occupation. This further increases the attractiveness of the country in question as service in general of a much higher quality. Unemployment in the sector is minimal. In these cases, a further economic benefit is the optimal use of all sorts of infrastructure, roads and railways, airports and harbors, like in Italy, and unlike Greece, for example, are good value for money, as they are not built to mostly serve for, say, 1/3 of a year. And this is even more the case with tourist infrastructures in the proper or narrower sense, that is, hotels, golf courses, aquatic centers, and so on. Related industries enjoy greater benefits. Theaters and operas gain more spectators. Shops win more customers. Agriculture or industrial products sell more of their output. Commuter services win more passengers, and so on. The list of economic benefits for countries, regions, and specific cities enjoying all year-round tourism, ladies and gentlemen, is impressive and practically highly beneficial for the entire economy. It is obvious that there are collateral benefits also in such cases for the overall prestige of a country, for its cultural output, for the flourishing of its regions, for the value of real estate, for the banking system, for the quality and sustainability of the commuter services, and so on. In such cases, the countries, regions, and cities enjoying the benefit of all year-round tourism have but one preoccupation: maintaining this status. This is not as easy as it sounds. Time-long destinations of this sort need to maintain buildings and other forms of infrastructure in good shape permanently. They must constantly diversify their tourist product to sustain the constant interest of visitors, and they must, above all, keep conditions of political and economic stability such as they would always make it safe for visitors to keep coming in again and again. Ladies and gentlemen, for countries almost totally outside the tourist industry, the way to begin, obviously, is promoting the overall visibility of the country. It is only when a country is recognizable as possessing an identity, as well as some particular benefits for the tourists, that it can actually start entering the global tourist market. But this strategy can only work when the country in question can offer political stability and safety to the visitor, as well as an elementary, even communication system and hotel and other infrastructures. Still, countries rising from almost nowhere to become important tourist destinations are abound. In recent decades, people visit numerous places in the Pacific, in the Caribbean, in Africa, in East Europe, and elsewhere. There is obviously abundant ground for expansion, and it is apparent that successful strategies for emerging markets have been on offer, and they hit the target. Dear friends, in discussing the middle category, that of developed yet not fully fledged tourist destinations, I will use, as you have probably understood, my country, Greece. Greece receives more than 17 million tourists a year. Her advantages are fairly, though certainly not fully, known. The most precious and symbolic ancient sites of Western civilization, a rich Byzantine and religious tradition, as well as many relevant monuments, a variety of architectural styles in her island and mountain villages, an incredibly long and varied coastline, 16,000 kilometers long, the circumference of Africa, the most amazing and clear waters in Europe, alpine mountains, lakes, and primeval forests, which very few tourists ever see, as they lie outside the beaten tourist track. And of course, the infrastructure, which after the Olympic Games has been completely renovated. Tourism in Greece is, alongside shipping, one of the two strongest sources of invisible earnings for the Greek treasury. It is naturally of paramount importance for the Greek economy, for employment, and for regional development, as many tourist areas have few, if any, other sources of income. Like many countries in this category, Greece, for being fully successful as a tourist destination, needs to face the great problems of her tourist industry's seasonal character. The lack of a more evenly spread tourist season is the main problem in Greece, as in many other medium-sized destinations, and is followed by all other related problems. Costly infrastructures, sometimes only used for 1/4 of the year. Imagine that mere number of ports and ferries required to serve the hundreds of islands destinations. The roads in so many rugged islands and coasts, the airports in minor locations, but important for tourism, the working force, who in their majority are seasonal to tourism and not fully professionals, that lowers the overall level of Greek tourism. There are other negative side effects also diminishing the economic benefit. A great increase in imports in order to serve to foreign travelers these products they use to consume in their own countries. Thank you. Environmental damage for construction, the spoiling of natural resources, that neglect of soil preservation, and expanding forest fires, whose damage is incalculable, the abandonment of agriculture, and so on. The example of Greece may present some rather rare features, but it is nonetheless useful for almost every other country in the category. In speaking of what Greece should do to guarantee that tourism fully becomes a tool for sustainable economic growth, I am, I believe, speaking for many other countries in her relative position. I'll try to be brief and precise. Greece must expand her tourist product to become all year round, and in so doing, she must liaise it with every other kind of economic activity in the country. Thus, tourism will become a powerful economic tool for overall sustainable development. And I explain. Setting the target of expansion in time throughout the year, that is, means nothing by itself. One needs complementary strategies, which I will describe. Developing particular types of tourist products and services, spas, golf courses, adventure mountains, forests, remote island tracking, religious tourism becomes very important in Greece, and tours of monasteries, farming and forestry tourism, hiking, and so on. The list of what Greece can do in all these fields, including skiing in winter, and of course sailing for most of the year, is long and impressive. She has started. She is doing well, but she needs to double the efforts. Decisively introduce city breaks. Athens and Thessaloniki, as well Patras, Corfu, Volos, and Chania, and Rhodes, of course, and several other cities enjoy tremendous nightlife, good and cheap shopping, and not only sites and museums. Athens and Thessaloniki are good European hubs for culture all year round. Sectoral policies, new branches of tourism, and the exploitation of urban and country tourist resources is the answer to the need of prolonging the tourist season. But there is, in my opinion, another capital target to be met if tourism is to yield all of its benefits. Streamlining many other economic activities with tourism to the benefit of both these activities and tourism. Agriculture, produce, and meat production should focus on serving particular tourist needs and specialize in the much sought organic farming. Participation of visitors in such activities, farm tourism, all over the country, revival of agriculture. These and many others have been our proposals to make of tourism a powerful tool of the green economy. This is why it's high time to take advantage of new technologies also, be it bioclimatic new type of buildings, solar or other energy power supplies, etc., is one more way of advancing sustainability. Revival of small industry and artisan crafts of quality, promote the modern and vivid cultural life of the country, not only in its well-known past. The list is long, but the benefits to come will certainly justify the effort. Ladies and gentlemen, it's obvious that tourism has the potential to contribute to sustainable economic growth. The case of Greece is an excellent proof of this. Just imagine the numbers will only grow. World GDP is growing. People want to travel. People want to know more. People want to meet other people, other cultures, a different way of thinking. So whoever invests, I believe, in tourism can be more or less sure that it will be a good investment. And I will close now, before I take your questions, in saying there has been a wonderful foire here in Berlin. Greece is present. Please visit it so that you will have a direct impression of how these countries work when they want to promote tourism. Thank you very much. And I take the seating.
Thank you very, very much, Ms. Bakoyannis, for an excellent lecture, which I'm sure has inspired and invigorated many questions and comments. So as always, if you could please raise your hand if you'd like to ask a question or pose a question, and briefly introduce yourself so that Ms. Bakoyannis knows a little bit also where you're coming from. Who would like to go first? Questions or comments? Please. All right, we have a second mic. Okay.
Hi, Ricardo Burgos again from Puerto Rico. I'm currently working with the director of tourism, a company in Puerto Rico. Actually, I'm here because of ITB as well. And my question is, how Puerto Rico just got downgraded its credit, and we're going through a similar story in our economic development as Greece and Portugal and Spain, not as critical as you guys had. But my question would be, how did the image of a country being in turmoil affected tourism? If you could talk about that, please.
So that was a problem. What we did is, first of all, try to explain to our fellow Greeks that if 20, 25 people just rally, they might damage a lot of the image, so the rally should be more calm. Of course, in a democracy, you have the right to demonstrate, and it's of course, absolutely sure, but still to take into consideration the center of Athens. In the last 2 years, things have much improved. Greece's image changed, not as much as we would like, but it still changed. There were even people from Germany, for example, who want to visit Greece just to leave their vacation money in Greece and help the country in this way. So there was some kind of solidarity movement also. Tourism was increasing. Of course, unfortunately, as everywhere in life, the bad luck of some other countries was good luck for us, which means that Egypt lost practically all of her tourism, which is a catastrophe because it's one of the most wonderful countries in the world. But still, people are afraid to travel to Egypt, so they come to the north of the Mediterranean, Tunisia, Jordan, etc., Syria. So a lot of wonderful places and cultural places, unique, I would say, are not open for visitors anymore under the crisis. So people come to Greece. So we have to work. We have to work on that. The security, I think, is the key for the tourist. A tourist must feel secure. If he feels secure, then he's ready to come to the country.
Good morning. I'm Brice. I'm Brice. I'm from France. My question would be about ecotourism, because it's a way that promotes also sustainable growth, especially in some developing countries. We've seen it a lot. I would love to hear your opinion about ecotourism in Western Europe or in Europe in general. Do you think it's a way to have a sustainable economic growth with this kind of tourism?
Well, yes, I believe that. I believe in all the forms of more individual tourism. Look, Europe has become a place where most visitors from around the world come. And in France and in Greece, we have abandoned villages. High up in the mountains, we have abandoned villages in Crete, for example. And they have become now ecotouristic villages. And it is very interesting that though they are in the middle of the country, though they are more or less somewhere in the mountains where there is no sea, so the traditional visitors would not be interested, that they gain a lot of attention and people visit them because they are ecotouristic venues. So I think, yes, it's one part of the future. Mainly you in France can work on that. And I think most of the Mediterranean countries, I'm not so sure what the Nordic can do about it because they lose 6 months in winter.
Questions or comments here?
Good morning, my name's Julia. I'm from Washington, D.C. My question is, where do the majority of tourists to Greece come from, and what are the specific strategies that Greece uses to cater to those specific populations, or do you place more of a priority on bringing in tourists from other regions that you don't currently see as tourists?
Well, one of the old tricks in when you do communication policies is try to expand as much as you can the already existing markets, because it's easier than to break into some new market. So yes, Greece has the traditional markets, which means Germany, Britain, France, Italy, etc. There is a new market which opened up in the last 10 years, which is the Russian market and Ukrainian market. We are very worried about what will happen after the crisis in the Ukraine became such a big crisis today. I mentioned already the Chinese market. It is very interesting for us, the Chinese market, because I hope you will not be offended when I say that China and Greece are the two oldest civilizations in the world. I may take an argument on that, but I don't think that there is anybody else who started 7,000 years ago. So there is a mutual respect between the Chinese and the Greeks. There is, of course, a difference in numbers. We are a little bit smaller than China, but still there is a mutual respect and an understanding. So for us, the Chinese market is very important because the Chinese travel in winter. They don't travel in summer. They don't like what the rest of the tourists like, which is sun and sea. What they want to see is the cultural sites. They want to have a good shopping, etc. So for us, the Chinese market is very important, and I think we are doing quite well there. The main thing is to make sure that we have direct contact with planes, which means that we have direct lines, Beijing, Athens.
Hello, my name is Nathan, and I have a question because tourism can also have a negative influence on environment and the local culture. And my question is, like, how can these be protected, or these threats, how can they be managed? Thank you.
I will tell you a small story. In Crete, the word God and the word stranger is the same word, which means that the people traditionally, whoever came to their house was a god. He was invited. So there are many stories, even about during the German occupation, when Germans, the occupiers, managed to get up to the mountains, and if they were alone and they saw a house, they were received as guests. And most of the time also protected. They killed all the other Germans, but they didn't kill the man who was in the house. So this was part of the Cretan culture and is part of the Cretan culture. Of course, after the number of tourists who visit Crete started to become even bigger and bigger, part of this way of thinking was lost. At about, I would say, in the 90s, in the beginning of the 90s. Now it's back in a different way. It is back because now the Cretans are more sure that what they have to promote is exactly this kind of thinking, this part of their culture. So the promotion which takes place now is completely different, their behavior is completely different, and they are much more sure of themselves than they were when they felt that the number of tourists who came over would completely change their mentality and their identity. And I believe they're doing well today. If you go in and see in your YouTube Crete, you will find a small video which shows somebody who tries to steal an orange. He's a British, tourist. He tries to steal an orange, and then somebody comes out like this and looks at him. You know, the Cretans are always dressed in black, very fiersmen. They look at him, and he gets panicked. And the man takes the orange away from him, takes him by the hand, so the poor tourist believes that he will be at least smacked and killed or whatever. And he brings him to a table where they were full of food and wine, etc. And he says, now you sit, you eat. So this is the mentality, the different way we are approaching now this issue.
Well, on that note, Ms. Bakoyannis, we do actually need to conclude the official part of the questions, but we're going to do an interview with Ms. Bakoyannis downstairs. So that's also another chance for us to have some interactive discussion with you. But I'd like to take this chance to ask everyone, please join us in expressing our sincere gratitude to Ms. Bakoyannis for an excellent keynote address, as well as the questions and discussion. Thank you very much. Thank you.